Welcome back to the channel, the place where unbelievable talent, jaw-dropping auditions, and the most unforgettable performances that feel bigger than life, and contestants who turn the stage into pure magic, then you are in the right place. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most electrifying and spine-tingling special editions ever assembled in talent show history. Get ready, because this is the ultimate Halloween edition of Got Talent 2025, a night unlike anything anyone has ever seen before. What unfolded on that stage shocked the judges, stunned the audience, and created moments that fans across the world are still trying to process. Every performance was darker, stranger, creepier, and more spectacular than the last. So sit tight, turn up the volume, and brace yourself, because the surprises arrive fast tonight. The night began with the studio completely transformed. The normally glowing, vibrant colors of the Got Talent set were replaced with deep oranges, haunting purples, moving shadows, flickering lanterns, and fog that crept across the stage like something alive. When the judges walked out, the crowd exploded. Traditional outfits. Not tonight. Each judge embraced full Halloween energy. Simon walked out in a long dark coat, torn at the edges, looking like a modern vampire who had seen centuries of auditions. Beside him, the other judges stepped into their own eerie personas, from gothic royalty to spellbinding sorcerers. The audience screamed in delight, waving glow sticks and holding fog machines, yes, actual fog machines, because tonight was about going over the top. Completely over the top. The host stepped forward with a grin that stretched ear to ear, reminding everyone that this was not a regular competition night. This was the night performers had been preparing for months, a night when creativity wasn't just encouraged, it was mandatory. A night when the Got Talent stage would transform into a haunted world of music, dance, illusions, danger, and stories told through terrifyingly brilliant performances. And then, suddenly, the host announced the first act. From backstage came a low rumbling. The lights dimmed. A figure emerged, cloaked in layers of black fabric stitched together like writhing shadows. The act called themselves the Hollow Choir. No one knew what to expect. Then, the moment their hood slipped back and their icy pale eyes stared into the crowd, the entire studio went silent. The music started as a soft whisper, like wind weaving through a graveyard. Then they opened their mouths and unleashed harmonies so chilling, everyone felt their skin prickle. The Hollow Choir blended opera with haunting whispers, echoing drones, and sudden bursts of powerful, angelic sound. Their choreography looked like floating spirits circling abandoned ruins. When the lights snapped off mid-performance, and the stage lit up again to reveal that they had vanished into thin air, the judges sat frozen. The audience screamed louder than ever. Simon leaned forward with a smirk, saying he had never heard anything like it on the show. A terrifyingly beautiful start to the night. After that came something completely different. A young contortionist from Romania walked onto the stage wearing simple clothing splattered with dark paint, as though she had crawled out of an abandoned painting. She introduced herself softly, saying she wanted to tell the story of a forgotten ghost who regained her voice. As she began bending her body into impossible shapes, the audience gasped in disbelief. With every movement, the digital backdrop shifted from a decrepit attic to a moonlit forest to a flickering haunted mansion. She twisted her limbs backward, slid across the floor as if weightless, and even lifted herself by her fingertips while her spine curled like a serpent. Halfway through, she bent backward until her head nearly touched her heels, then she stared directly at the audience with glowing white contacts. A collective shiver rippled through the room. When she finished, several judges held their breath before giving her a massive standing ovation. One judge said it felt like watching a horror film performed live, except far more elegant. Up next was a group act that absolutely no one was prepared for. They called themselves the Mechanical Dead. The stage filled with fog as they marched out like a broken army of malfunctioning robotic creatures, half zombie, half machine. Their movements were sharp, glitching, jerking, freezing in mid-motion like corrupted technology. Every time the beat intensified, their motions became more violent, more synchronized, and more impossible. Their costumes looked like metal fused with decaying fabric. Sparks lit up behind them, lights strobed like a collapsing factory, and the audience screamed at every sudden twist of their heads. They ended by freezing completely, lights shutting off, and when the lights came back, they were gone. Totally vanished. Simon muttered that he had absolutely no idea how they pulled that off. Another judge said it looked like a nightmare invented by a genius choreographer. They easily earned their spot as one of the most memorable performances of the night. But the true shockwave of the Halloween edition came from one of the youngest contestants ever featured in a special event. A small boy, no older than 10, stepped onto the stage holding an old violin. His clothing was simple, but his makeup transformed him into a ghostly child from a centuries-old legend. He said almost nothing. He simply raised the violin and began to play. The audience expected something sweet and innocent. What they heard instead felt like the soundtrack of a haunted opera house abandoned years ago. The notes were soft but carried an eerie emotional weight that made the judges sit up straight. His bow danced across the strings with flawless precision. As he played, holograms of phantom figures swirled around him, dancers made of smoke that moved like memories returning to life. His performance was not loud or shocking, but deeply atmospheric. It was storytelling through sound. When he finished, there wasn't a single person in the audience who wasn't applauding. Simon looked stunned, saying that talent like his only appears once in a generation. The night continued, and every performance had a unique twist. A fire juggler performed inside a ring of flames shaped like demonic wings. A magician turned his assistants into glowing skeletons that walked independently across the stage. A singer dressed as a witch belted out a rock opera anthem so powerful that the judges sat there speechless. A dance duo used levitation wires so well hidden that it looked like they were literally floating above the stage. And a shadow act told the story of a haunted castle through silhouettes that transformed into beasts, knights, ghosts, and illusions so crisp that the audience forgot they were watching shadows on a screen. Then the studio went dark again. The crowd murmured in confusion. Suddenly, the sound of a heartbeat echoed across the walls, steady, slow, and loud. The entire audience fell silent. The host whispered something about a final surprise performance that even the judges had not been briefed on. A single spotlight appeared, illuminating a tall figure in a long Victorian coat. His face was hidden. Behind him, the background flickered between thunderstorms, old broken clocks, and a distant moon. When he lifted his head, the audience gasped. His makeup was designed to make him look as if he were carved from stone. Then he began to speak in a deep, resonant voice that sounded ancient. He wasn't singing. He wasn't dancing. He was performing spoken word poetry orchestrated with a haunting violin and thunderous bass. Every line felt like a piece of a forgotten story. As he spoke, illusions formed around him, swirling mist, glowing letters in the air, crumbling stone walls. When he extended his arm, ghostly ravens shot upward into the sky, vanishing in bursts of silver light. By the time he finished, the audience was in awe. One judge even said it was the most unexpected performance ever delivered on a Got Talent stage. The energy of the night only grew stronger as more acts stepped into the spotlight. A group of acrobats performed inside a Gothic cage that rose vertically into the air. They flipped through burning hoops, swung from chains, and executed stunts that defied logic. A knife thrower, dressed as a mad scientist, hurled spinning blades toward a rotating wheel with his assistant strapped to it while electrical coils sparked around them. A choir of 20 people dressed as forest spirits sang a chilling harmony that felt like an ancient ritual. A group of puppeteers created a story using life-sized skeleton marionettes that felt so lifelike that some audience members actually flinched when the puppets turned their heads. Every performer gave absolutely everything they had. Their costumes were richer, their makeup more elaborate, their staging more dramatic, and their stories darker than ever before. It was clear that each act had embraced the Halloween theme with full artistic ambition, knowing that this could become one of the most legendary episodes in Got Talent history. But the moment that sealed the night as unforgettable arrived near the end. A young woman walked on stage with a calm expression, dressed as a fortune teller from another era. Her table was covered in tarot cards and crystal globes. She announced that her talent was foresight. The judges exchanged confused looks. Was this an act? Was this comedy? Was this magic? She smiled softly and asked Simon to pick a card from the deck. He pulled one. She revealed it instantly without even looking. The audience clapped politely. Then she asked the other judges to name a random date. She wrote it down before they even said it out loud. They finished speaking and she turned the paper around, revealing an exact match. The audience started buzzing. Then she looked into the crowd and told a random audience member something deeply personal that they confirmed instantly. Suddenly, the energy changed. This was not an ordinary magic act. She started predicting movements before they happened, finishing sentences the judges were thinking but had not spoken, and even calling out a future moment that unfolded seconds later. When her final reveal hit, the crowd erupted in disbelief. She had predicted a detail from earlier in the night that she had no way of knowing. The judges were stunned. She earned a massive standing ovation and became one of the most talked about acts of the night. The finale of the show featured all performers returning to the stage in a massive Halloween celebration. Fog shot upward from the edges. Pumpkins lit up like glowing embers. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The judges applauded each contestant once again as the host announced that voting would begin immediately. The Halloween edition had delivered everything fans hoped for and more. It was thrilling, creepy, dramatic, cinematic, and full of artistry that pushed the boundaries of what a televised performance could achieve. The night ended with the audience cheering loudly as confetti shaped like tiny bats rained across the studio. The host closed the show by promising that the world had just witnessed a piece of Got Talent history that would be remembered for years to come. As the cameras faded out, the judges exchanged looks of astonishment. Even Simon admitted that it was one of the best themed nights the franchise had ever produced. This was the ultimate Halloween edition of Got Talent 2025, a night filled with fear, beauty, and unforgettable creativity. A night where every performer embraced the strange, the mysterious, the supernatural, and turned it into pure entertainment. And while only a few would move forward, everyone who watched the show knew they had seen something legendary. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the most chilling, spectacular, and haunting talent showcase ever created, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story from the world of Got Talent. There are so many more incredible auditions coming, so many stories waiting, and so many unforgettable performers about to take the stage. Until next time, keep believing in the power of talent, creativity, and the magic of a performance that defies expectations. See you in the next video.